You scroll through endless options, yet nothing feels like the right choice. This quiet sense of being adrift without a true direction touches so many of us today. But 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor discovered a way through. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look inward. Do not let the true essence of anything escape you." He called this the inner citadel, a steady core of purpose built through thoughtful self-reflection. This was the Stoic art of shaping a meaningful life. By the end of our time together, you will have a practical set of age-old methods to build your own reliable sense of direction. We will explore how a simple question about what you can influence can bring clarity to your mind, how a nightly conversation with yourself can help map your path, and how aligning with timeless values turns daily actions into something lasting. This is not just abstract thinking, it is a framework for living with intention. What might your own inner citadel feel like right now? Before the Stoics could define their purpose in the world, they first had to understand the world within. This is the heart of the inner citadel, a metaphor for a mind so grounded in reason and self-awareness that outside noise cannot easily disturb its calm. Think of it not as a distant or lonely space, but as a quiet room inside yourself where your clearest thoughts take shape. The guide to this personal space is thoughtful self-reflection, the gentle practice of observing your own impressions before you take them as fact. Marcus Aurelius often wrote of turning inward, describing how you can always find a peaceful sanctuary by looking inside, a place of steady calm that asks for nothing from beyond yourself. This is not about stepping away from life, but about creating a stable center from which to meet it completely. Consider how you might get ready for a difficult discussion. The Stoic way would be to focus only on your own aims, your own chosen words, and your own possible replies. You let go of trying to manage what someone else might say or feel, because that lies beyond your own sphere of influence. Your true area of guidance is your inner world, your decisions and your reactions. So, as we continue, take a moment to notice one part of your own inner experience that you would like to guide with more care. Is it a familiar concern that takes your focus, or a quick feeling that sometimes shifts your direction? Simply recognizing it is the first step in cultivating your own place of purpose. What if the single most important question for finding your purpose was simply, "Is this up to me?" This question is the heart of the Stoic tool known as the Dichotomy of Control. It is a simple yet profound sorting mechanism for your entire life. The Stoics teach that some things are within our power and other things are not. Within our power are our own judgments, our intentions, the goals we set, and the actions we choose to take. Everything else, from what other people think of us to the final outcome of our efforts, lies outside that circle. This is not a call to give up on external goals, but to redirect your energy. By focusing only on what you can truly influence, you stop wasting precious mental effort on what you cannot change. The Stoic teacher Epictetus opens his handbook with this very clarity. He writes, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, our reputation, our office, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing." Think about the common anxiety surrounding a job interview. You can spend days worrying about whether the interviewers will like you or if another candidate is more qualified. This is a drain on your focus because you have no say in their final decision. The Stoic approach shifts your attention to your own preparation. You can control researching the company, practicing your answers, and choosing to be punctual and present. Your energy goes into the quality of your own performance, which is the only part of the event you truly command. This practice frees you from the weight of unpredictable outcomes, allowing you to act with clarity and purpose. So take a moment with a current stress in your life, write it down if you can, and draw 2 columns. In the first, list every element that is within your control, your effort, your attitude, your preparation. In the second, place everything that is not, other people's reactions, past events, final results. Seeing this division on the page begins the work of reclaiming your mental space for what truly matters. As the day ended, a Stoic would not simply rest. They would sit down with their own soul for a quiet, rigorous conversation. This nightly practice was known as the evening examination, a structured time for looking back over the hours passed with honest and gentle curiosity. The goal was not to punish oneself for mistakes, but to learn from the entire day's experience, strengthening that inner citadel through consistent self-awareness. Seneca wrote powerfully about this habit in his reflections on life's brevity. He advised, "Let sleep come upon you in a tranquil mood, and say to yourself, I have not allowed my senses to be angered by anyone. I have not shrunk from my duties. See what a good rest this preparation brings." This was not about achieving perfection, but about engaging in a daily reckoning that refined one's character over time. The process was beautifully simple. You would review the day's events, your own actions and your reactions, holding them up against the timeless standard of virtue. Did you act with courage when it was required? Did you respond to frustration with patience or with irritation? Were your choices aligned with your deepest values, or were they swayed by outside pressures? This was not a harsh interrogation, but a thoughtful dialogue aimed at growth. Think of a modern version you could try tonight. In just 5 quiet minutes, you might ask yourself 3 simple questions. What is one thing I did well today, where my actions felt truly aligned with my purpose? Where did I fall short of my own standards, perhaps in a quick word spoken without enough kindness? And most importantly, what specific lesson can I carry forward from that moment into tomorrow? This turns every single day, even the difficult ones, into a source of wisdom. Tonight, before you sleep, consider trying this for just one evening. Reflect on a single interaction where you could have been more patient, more just, or more understanding. Do not judge the moment, simply observe it and extract its gentle lesson. This small act is how you begin to map your own progress, not by the measure of external achievements, but by the quiet, steady cultivation of your inner world. For a Stoic, a purposeful life is not measured by fame or fortune, but by a single, unwavering metric, virtue. This was their sole good, the only thing truly worth pursuing for its own sake. Everything else, from health and wealth to reputation, was seen as a preferred or dispreferred indifferent, meaning it could be useful or inconvenient, but it could never add to or subtract from your moral character. Your purpose, then, becomes the daily alignment of your actions with 4 cardinal qualities. Wisdom is the virtue of seeing the world clearly, making sound judgments free from distortion. Courage is not just bravery in danger, but the fortitude to endure hardship and stand by your principles. Justice involves fairness in all your dealings with others, acting for the common good. And temperance is the self-discipline that brings balance and moderation to your desires and actions. Marcus Aurelius framed this entire endeavor with a powerful question for self-examination. He wrote, "Does the light of the candle lose its beauty before it is extinguished? If it shines on until the last moment, truth and justice," he continues, "will only vanish if they are extinguished within you." Your purpose, your inner light, is that commitment to virtue itself, which remains radiant regardless of the external darkness. This philosophy turns every ordinary choice into a meaningful one. Consider the simple, inconvenient act of returning excess change given to you by mistake at a store. The easy path is to keep the money, a small gain with no obvious consequence. The Stoic path, aligned with justice, recognizes that honesty in this tiny moment is an exercise in building your inner strength. It is an active declaration that your character is more valuable than a minor financial advantage. You are strengthening your core virtue through a seemingly small action. So, as you reflect on your own journey, which of these four cardinal virtues feels most like it is calling for your attention right now? Is it the call to greater wisdom in how you interpret a challenging situation, the courage to have a difficult conversation, the justice to correct a small unfairness, or the temperance to manage a persistent desire? Identifying this single point of focus gives your thoughtful self-examination a clear and immediate direction. The Stoics had a mental exercise to instantly shrink anxiety and magnify purpose. They would imagine looking down on their lives from the height of the stars. This was the view from above, a powerful form of perspective taking that pulls you out of the narrow confines of a single moment. From that vast distance, your entire city becomes a mere map. The bustling crowds vanish into stillness, and your personal struggles are seen within the grand, quiet flow of history. The goal is not to make your life seem insignificant, but to reconnect it to something far greater, revealing what is truly worth your focused energy. Marcus Aurelius was a master of this practice, constantly reminding himself to rise above the noise. He wrote in his private thoughts how quickly all things are swallowed by the passage of time. Look at the vast expanse of existence behind you and the infinite future before you. In another passage, he reflects on the earth itself as a single point in the cosmos, and your own dwelling place upon it as but a tiny corner. This was his way of cultivating humility and a profound sense of connectedness. He was not dismissing his responsibilities as emperor, but rather framing them within a scale that made petty grievances and personal slights lose their power. You can apply this perspective the next time a minor social slight sends your mind spinning, or a professional setback feels like a permanent roadblock. That challenging email, that awkward conversation, that project that did not go as planned, picture it from a century in the future. Will anyone remember this specific moment? Will it have altered the core of who you are? From that distant viewpoint, the sharp edges of the incident often soften, revealing it as a single thread in the much larger tapestry of your life. Your true purpose, your commitment to virtue, stands out clearly against the backdrop of these temporary disturbances. So whenever you feel a wave of overwhelm, try this brief version of the exercise. Close your eyes for just a moment, take your current worry and gently pull your perspective back. Imagine looking at this concern from a distance of 100 years. See it there, small and quiet, within the long arc of a human life. What changes about its weight? What remains important when viewed through that timeless lens? This simple shift does not solve the problem for you, but it clears the fog, allowing you to approach it from your inner citadel with reason and calm intention. What if every obstacle, every setback was not a barrier to your purpose, but an essential part of it? This is the radical heart of amor fati, a love of one's fate. For the Stoics, this was not a philosophy of passive resignation, where you simply endure life's difficulties. It was an active, creative embrace of reality, a deliberate choice to welcome every single event as the necessary raw material for building your character and finding your direction. The Stoic teacher Epictetus, born into a life of hardship, framed every circumstance as a training ground. He instructed his students to say to every difficult appearance, "You are but an appearance, and not at all the thing you appear to be." And then to examine it, test it, and in doing so, transform your relationship with it. This mindset turns the very things that seem to block your path into the steps you walk on. Consider the story of a planned career path that falls apart. Imagine dedicating years to a specific profession, only to find the door firmly closed. The initial feeling is one of transition and uncertainty, but with the lens of amor fati, this closure is not a final verdict, it is a redirection. The skills you hone for that one role become transferable gifts. The space that change creates allows a quieter, more genuine interest to finally surface and grow. That unfulfilled plan becomes the very reason you discover a path more aligned with your true capacities, a direction you might never have considered otherwise. This is how loving your fate fuels resilience, because it removes the internal struggle against what already is, freeing your energy to build what can be. So, bring to mind one past difficulty you now recognize as crucial to your development. Perhaps a personal challenge or an unexpected shift that felt overwhelming at the time, yet ultimately shaped your strengths in ways you now value. Then consider a current challenge you are facing. Can you begin to reframe it not as a random piece of bad luck, but as the specific material you need right now to cultivate greater patience, courage, or wisdom? This shift in perspective does not change the event itself, but it fundamentally changes you, the one who experiences it, turning every moment into a source of purpose. Are your desires serving your purpose or sabotaging it? The Stoics developed a rigorous mental training to ensure it was the former, a practice they called the discipline of desire. This is the art of clarifying what you truly want, aligning your deepest longings not with unpredictable external rewards, but with the steady, reliable pursuit of virtue itself. An undisciplined desire, one that constantly reaches for things outside your control, is a source of perpetual inner turmoil. You might wish for a certain level of wealth, the approval of others, or a specific outcome in your career. But since none of these are ever fully within your command, your peace of mind becomes tied to fortune, rising and falling with every shift in circumstance. Seneca captures this beautifully in his letters, writing about the quiet freedom that comes from wanting only what is good and within your power. He observes, what is the fruit of these teachings? Only the most fitting and beautiful harvest, a calm mind. For we are troubled when our desires fail us, or when they are fulfilled and prove empty. The discipline of desire redirects your aim inward to the one thing you can always possess, your own moral character. You shift from wanting to be praised to wanting to be praiseworthy. You move from desiring an easy life to desiring the strength to live a good one well. This realignment does not mean you stop preferring comfort or success, but that you cease to need them for your core happiness. Your purpose becomes untouchable because it is built on the foundation of what you can always choose. Consider the modern urge to refresh a social media post, anxiously awaiting the validation of likes and shares. That desire for external approval is a flickering flame, entirely dependent on the winds of other people's attention. Now contrast that with the desire to create a piece of work, a post, or a project that is genuinely helpful, truthful, or beautiful according to your own standards. This desire is aligned with the virtue of integrity. The act of creation itself becomes the reward, and any external recognition is simply a welcome addition, not the source of your fulfillment. Your purpose is clean and self-contained, so take a quiet moment for a small but powerful exercise. Bring to mind 3 things you find yourself strongly desiring right now. Write them down if you can. Now, gently evaluate each one. Is this desire rooted in a virtue I can cultivate, like wisdom or courage? Or is its fulfillment entirely dependent on something outside myself, like another person's decision or a specific worldly outcome? Simply observing this distinction begins the work of training your desires, guiding them to serve the steady purpose of your inner citadel, rather than the fleeting whims of the outer world. A Stoic's purpose was never just personal, it was inherently social. Every action was a thread in the fabric of human community. This idea stems from the principle of sympatheia, the profound Stoic belief in the interconnectedness of all rational beings. They saw the world as a single, living organism, and each person as a limb of that greater body. To act against another, then, was as irrational as a hand refusing to help the foot. This interconnectedness creates a fundamental obligation to act with justice and kindness in all our dealings. Marcus Aurelius, despite his immense power, constantly reminded himself of this duty. He wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." He framed his role not as a master over subjects, but as a citizen serving his fellow citizens, a single part of a vast worldwide city. He saw himself as a citizen of the world, a concept that expands our sense of responsibility far beyond our immediate circle. Your purpose, in this view, is fulfilled through contribution. It is found in the small, daily choices that strengthen the social fabric. Think about a moment in your own work life. A colleague is facing a complex task and you have a choice. You can focus solely on your own responsibilities, or you can take 10 minutes to offer clear, patient guidance. That act of support is not merely being nice, it is a practical exercise in Stoic virtue. You are acting for the common welfare, reinforcing the bonds of your professional community through a simple, just action. The reward is not in recognition or thanks, but in the quiet knowledge that you have played your part well. So, as you look toward tomorrow, ask yourself this reflective question: what is one small, specific action I can take that benefits someone else, with no expectation of anything in return? It could be holding a door with a genuine smile, listening fully without interruption to a family member, or quietly completing a shared task that others have overlooked. In that conscious choice, you are not just doing a good deed, you are weaving your own thread of purpose into the timeless Stoic ideal of the common good. The Stoics practiced a form of thoughtful reflection not to despair, but to make themselves more resilient. This mental training was called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of challenges, and it stands as one of their most powerful and often misunderstood tools. Far from being a pessimistic exercise, it is a deliberate rehearsal for life's inevitable shifts, designed to build strength and clarify what truly matters. Seneca, in his letters, counseled his friend Lucilius to regularly anticipate the changing nature of fortune. He wrote, "The wise man considers both sides, how quickly things may change, and how long a season of contentment may last." He fortifies himself against the future by reflecting on its possible turns. This is not about expecting difficulty to happen, but about removing the element of surprise, so that if a challenge arrives, you are not paralyzed by shock, but prepared to respond from a place of inner stability. The practice works by gently imagining potential changes or hardships, not to dwell on them, but to prepare your mind for their impact and to see through the illusion of permanence that we often attach to our comforts. Imagine for a moment mentally rehearsing the transition from a role you value. You do not just think about the event itself, you walk through the entire experience in your mind. You feel the initial shift, you picture the practical steps you would take next, updating your resume, reaching out to your connections. You then confront the deeper question, the reflection on your own capability and worth. And in doing so, you make a profound discovery. You realize that your identity, your core resilience, is not tied to that single position. You uncover your own ability to adapt, to learn, and to begin again. This mental preparation does not attract the event, it robs it of its power to unsettle your entire sense of purpose. your commitment shifts from the external role to the inner strength you would employ to navigate the change, courage, wisdom, and perseverance. Now take just 2 minutes today for a gentle version of this practice. Bring to mind a valued possession or a cherished relationship. Contemplate its temporary, precious nature, not to foster worry, but to awaken a deeper, more present gratitude for its existence in your life right now. This simple act of conscious appreciation, born from understanding life's flowing nature, sharpens your focus on the love or the value you can give today, strengthening your inner citadel against the uncertainties of tomorrow. For the Stoics, a journal was a gym for the mind, a private space where purpose was forged one written sentence at a time. This was not a simple diary for recording daily events, but an active, written dialogue with the self, a tool for untangling complex thoughts and strengthening one's rational core. When you write something down, you are forced to give shape to vague impressions, to see your own judgments laid bare on the page. This process brings to light the less helpful beliefs that might otherwise swirl unnoticed in your mind, allowing you to address them directly with reason. Over time, this written record becomes a powerful map of your progress, showing you how your understanding of virtue has deepened and where your reactions have become more measured. The most famous example of this practice is the work we now call Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It is crucial to remember that this profound text was never meant for public eyes. It was his own private journal, a series of notes and reminders he wrote to himself to reinforce his principles and guide his actions as a leader. He was actively coaching his own soul through the written word. A practical way to begin this practice comes from the teachings of Epictetus, who suggested examining your experiences through 3 simple topics. First, judgment. What initial impression or belief did I form about this event? Second, action. How did I choose to respond, and was that aligned with my values? And third, desire. What was I wanting to achieve, and was that desire within my control? This 3-part structure turns any daily event into a source of philosophical insight. Tonight, you might try a version of this with a 1-sentence journal. Before you sleep, take a moment to write a single line that captures one clear lesson you learned or one instance where you consciously practiced a virtue, however small. This small act of writing crystallizes the day's experience, turning it from a fleeting moment into a deliberate brick for the walls of your inner character. That first flash of anger, that spike of anxiety, the Stoics saw these not as facts, but as opinions waiting to be cross-examined. This is the foundational practice of examining your first impressions, a skill that stops automatic reactions from hijacking your purpose. At the heart of this is a powerful idea called proherses, your faculty of choice. This is your innate capacity to pause between an event and your reaction, to decide whether you will give your assent to that initial, often distorted, judgment. You are not your first thought. You are the gatekeeper who decides if that thought enters and shapes your inner world. The Stoic teacher Epictetus laid this out with stunning clarity. He said, people are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. An event itself is neutral until your mind interprets it, and that interpretation is where your power lies. Consider the moment you receive a piece of critical feedback on your work. The first impression might whisper, "I am a failure." This is a raw, unchallenged judgment that can send you into a spiral of frustration. But if you exercise your proherses, you pause, you hold that initial thought up to the light of reason and ask, is this truly a fact? The examined judgment, the one you consciously choose to accept, might be, this is specific data I can use to improve one part of my work. The event did not change, but your relationship to it has been completely transformed. You have moved from being a passenger of the impression to being the architect of your response. So bring to mind a recent moment that sparked a strong feeling in you. perhaps a sudden irritation or a wave of worry. Now, gently ask yourself, what was the very first story I told myself about what was happening? Write that sentence down. Seeing that initial judgment on the page is the first act of separating yourself from it, creating the space where your true, rational purpose can once again take the lead. What if the secret to a purposeful life wasn't getting more, but wanting less and wanting the right things? This is the quiet art of Stoic contentment, a profound sense of sufficiency that fuels meaningful action rather than stifling it. It is crucial to understand that this mindset is the opposite of complacency. Complacency is passive, a settling for less without any inner drive. Stoic contentment is intensely active. It is the clear-eyed decision to find the richest possible value in your present circumstances and to use every resource you already have with creativity and purpose. It frees your energy from the exhausting cycle of endless wanting, channeling it instead into genuine growth. Seneca, with his characteristic sharpness, pinpointed the trap of always seeking more. He wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." True wealth, he argues, is found in a mind content with little, for such contentment is the boundary where nature's own limits are drawn. This is not poverty, it is liberation. The modern world offers a constant masterclass in discontent, particularly through the comparison trap of social media. You scroll through a stream of curated achievements, luxurious vacations, and seemingly perfect lives. This endless external measuring can make your own reasonable life feel lacking, obscuring the unique purpose that is yours to build. Your energy shifts from creating a life of substance to managing a feeling of not having enough. The Stoic redirects this energy inward. Instead of asking, "Why do I not have what they have?" the question becomes, "How can I best use what I already possess to live with wisdom and integrity today?" So let's try a small exercise in this active appreciation. Bring to mind 3 things you already have, but may not be fully appreciating. It could be a skill you use every day without thought, like your ability to listen or to organize. It could be a relationship that offers steady support, or it could be a simple, accessible pleasure, like the quiet of an early morning or the taste of a favorite meal. Write them down. For the next 24 hours, make a conscious effort to truly see these 3 gifts, not as background details, but as central, valuable resources in your life. This simple act of recognition begins to rewire your focus from what is missing to the abundant materials already in your hands, ready to be shaped into a life of purpose. A Stoic approaches life like an archer. Their purpose is to take aim, draw the bow with skill, and release. The wind taking the arrow off course is not their concern. This ancient analogy, recorded by Cicero and rooted in the teachings of Chrysippus, frames a profound shift in how we define success. The archer's entire moral effort is concentrated on the process, on doing everything within their power to send the arrow true. They cannot command the gust that deflects it, the movement of the target, or the final impact. Their victory lies not in hitting the mark, but in the excellence of their form, their focus, and their intention. For us, the target is virtuous action itself, the internal quality of our effort, not the external prize we hope to win. This redefinition is a tremendous liberation. It means your sense of purpose becomes untouchable by fortune, because it is sealed within the one area you truly control, your own will and action. Your fulfillment is no longer waiting for a particular result to arrive. It is present in the very act of striving with integrity. Think of a creative project you care about, writing a book, composing music, building a new business. The Stoic archer pours their full attention into the craft, the diligence of the daily work, the integrity of the process. Their purpose is fulfilled in the act of creation itself, in the alignment of their effort with their values. Whether that project becomes a viral hit or finds only a quiet audience is like the wind, a secondary event. It is welcome if it happens, but it does not define the worth of the endeavor. The creator who is focused on the quality of their effort finds a deep and steady satisfaction in the work, immune to the shifting opinions of the crowd. So, bring to mind one goal you are currently working toward. Now, gently shift your perspective. Can you identify the part that is your skillful aim, the quality of your effort, and your right intention? And can you recognize the part that is the wind, the final outcome that lies beyond your direct command? By making this distinction, you reclaim the core of your purpose, finding success not in what you achieve, but in who you become through the act of trying itself. The Stoics kept a symbolic object on their desk, not as a decoration, but as the most important productivity practice ever created. This tradition, known as Memento Mori, was a daily, tangible reminder that our time is finite. Far from being a dark fixation, this understanding was their ultimate tool for cutting through distraction and focusing with absolute clarity on what gives life meaning. It forces a simple, powerful question. If your time is limited, and it always is, what truly deserves your attention right now? This remembrance does not invite despair, but a profound sense of urgency and appreciation for the present moment. Marcus Aurelius framed this not with fear, but with a quiet reverence for nature's cycles. He reflected in his private writings, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. He saw this awareness as a natural process that lends a poignant beauty to every hour, making the ordinary extraordinary simply because it is available to us now. Imagine you are hesitating to have a necessary but challenging conversation with someone you care about. The easy path is to delay, to tell yourself you will find the right time tomorrow or next week. But the Memento Mori mindset shifts your perspective instantly. It asks, if this were the last opportunity you had to speak with this person, what would you truly want to say? The trivial fears of awkwardness or rejection fall away, leaving only the essential need for honest communication and connection. The conversation moves from a task to be postponed to a meaningful action to be taken today. So let this question settle in your mind for a moment. If you knew you had 1 year left to live, what would you stop doing immediately, and what would you start? The first list likely contains the energy-draining worries, the endless scrolling, the people-pleasing that costs you your peace. The second list holds the quiet truths, the creative projects you have postponed, the love you want to express more freely, the simple moments of presence you often rush past. This is not about drafting a final list of wishes, but about identifying the core elements of a life well lived right now. That clarity is the gift of this ancient practice, a tool that transforms the awareness of an ending into the energy to live with purpose today. The Stoics did not wander aimlessly. They navigated by the stars of those who had walked the path of virtue before them. This guiding light was the sage, an idealized figure of perfect wisdom and moral excellence. While they acknowledged that such flawless character was a rare achievement, contemplating this model gave them a living, breathing standard to measure their own choices against. It was less about achieving perfection and more about having a clear direction for their moral compass, a North Star for their purpose. Seneca often wrote of the profound guidance he received from reflecting on his own teacher, Attalus. He described how the mere memory of Attalus's voice, his simple way of living, and his steady principles would come to mind in moments of uncertainty, offering immediate clarity. He was not copying the man, he was internalizing the model of integrity he represented. You can apply this same compass in your own life. Think of a challenging decision you are facing, perhaps a situation demanding honesty where a simpler, less truthful path is available. Now bring to mind a modern or historical figure known for their strong character, someone like Abraham Lincoln, Eleanor Roosevelt, or a personal mentor from your own life. Ask yourself quietly, what would they do in this specific moment? The answer is rarely a complex mystery. It typically points toward the more courageous, the more just, the more principled action. This simple question cuts through the noise of short-term convenience and connects you directly to the kind of character you are striving to build. So, take a moment for a reflective exercise. Identify one person, real or even fictional, whose core character you genuinely admire. It could be a leader known for their wisdom, a family member known for their kindness, or a literary hero known for their courage. Then pinpoint one specific trait they embody that you feel is calling to you right now. Is it their patience in listening, their resilience in the face of setbacks, or their fairness in dealing with others? Your task is not to become them, but to consciously emulate that single quality in your own choices over the coming days, using their example as a living reference for your own growing purpose. Your thoughts are leaves floating down a river. The Stoic practice is to find a steady place on the bank and simply watch them pass by, rather than being pulled into the current. This is cognitive distancing, the art of observing your own inner world as if from a slight remove. You learn to see a feeling of anger not as a command you must obey, but as a passing weather pattern in your mind. You notice a thought of worry not as a certain prediction, but as one of many possibilities drifting through. This creates a crucial space between an event and your reaction, a quiet moment where your true power of choice resides. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this profound capacity of the mind when he wrote about the ruling faculty, that part of you which can step back and observe itself. It can ask, is this impression true, or is it just a story I am telling myself in this moment? This meta-awareness is the very foundation of rational self-examination. A practical way to begin this is through the simple act of labeling. When you feel a surge of frustration, instead of declaring I am so frustrated, you can pause and say, I am noticing a feeling of frustration. That small shift in language changes everything. It transforms the feeling from an identity you are trapped inside into an object you can observe and understand. You are no longer the storm, you are the person watching the storm from a sheltered place, noting its intensity and knowing it will change. Try this right now, in this very moment. Notice one current thought or feeling, perhaps a lingering thought about your day or a quiet anticipation for what comes next. Without trying to push it away or get swept up in its narrative, simply acknowledge its presence. Say to yourself, I am noticing that thought, or I am aware of that feeling. This is not a technique to make it disappear, but to reclaim your position as the calm observer on the riverbank, the one who gets to decide which thoughts deserve your full engagement. The Stoics believed that to forge an unshakable purpose, you must occasionally turn down the thermostat of your comfort zone. This is the practice of voluntary discomfort, a training regimen for the soul designed to build resilience from the inside out. It is not about punishing the body or rejecting life's simple pleasures, but about conducting a powerful experiment. You are testing and proving to yourself that your core happiness and sense of direction are not held hostage by external conditions. By willingly choosing a minor hardship, you demonstrate to your own mind that you are stronger than your circumstances. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus was a powerful advocate for this training. He taught that practicing simplicity when you have plenty and embracing effort when you are at ease prepares you to face life's inevitable shifts with grace. He argued that someone who lives in luxury and has never encountered difficulty is like a sailor who has only ever sailed in calm seas, completely unprepared for the first real storm. This practice builds a deep and quiet confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you can handle more than you thought possible. Think of it as taking your inner citadel out for a stress test, confirming its walls are strong enough to withstand a little pressure. A simple way to start is with something as accessible as a cold shower. You stand at the edge of the water knowing the initial shock is coming. For those first few seconds, your entire mind might urge you to step back into warmth. But when you choose to stay, to breathe through the experience, you are not just getting clean. You are actively practicing courage. You are telling your nervous system that discomfort is a sensation you can observe and move through, not a command you must obey. You prove that your will is in charge, not your immediate desire for ease. Or you might choose to walk to the store instead of driving for a small errand, embracing the minor inconvenience of time and weather. In that act, you are practicing self-sufficiency and reconnecting with your own physical capacity. This week, commit to one small, voluntary step outside your usual routine. It could be skipping a meal to experience a brief fast, or taking a 24-hour break from the digital noise of social media. The goal is not the act itself, but the quiet observation that follows. Notice the subtle sense of inner strength that emerges when you realize you consciously chose the more challenging path, and you are still whole, still capable, still aligned with your purpose on the other side. The Stoic sees a barrier and does not ask why me, but what training does this provide? This is the living heart of amor fati in action, where perception becomes your most creative tool for crafting a resilient purpose. It is the deliberate choice to look at any setback, any inconvenience, or any hardship, and see it not as a random piece of bad luck, but as the specific raw material you need to practice a virtue. Your power lies not in changing the event itself, which is often fixed in the past, but in the meaning you assign to it in the present. Marcus Aurelius captured this transformative shift in one of his most famous insights, writing, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is not a motivational slogan, it is a practical instruction. When a difficulty blocks your intended path, the new path is to use that very difficulty as the ground for your training. The obstacle itself becomes the way forward, the only way to develop the strength you currently lack. Consider the historical example of Seneca, the wealthy statesman and philosopher. When he was sent to the island of Corsica by the Emperor Claudius, he was separated from his status, his wealth, and his political influence. This was a significant external event, a true challenge by any measure. Yet, in that time of solitude, Seneca turned his perception. He saw this period not as an end, but as a unique opportunity to practice his philosophy without distraction. It was during this time that he wrote some of his most profound and enduring works, his consolations and his powerful letters on life and its transitions. The challenge of that separation became the fertile ground for his greatest contributions. In a modern context, think of a project at work that does not succeed despite your best efforts. The initial perception might be one of lost time and professional difficulty, but the Stoic reframe asks different questions. What did this experience teach you about planning, about teamwork, or about your own capacity to adapt under pressure? The project did not just fall short, it provided a real-world, high-stakes lesson in resilience that no theoretical success could ever offer. It trained you in the virtues of humility and perseverance. So take a quiet moment with a current challenge you are facing. It might be a personal disagreement, a financial constraint, or a health concern. Now, gently brainstorm 3 potential gifts or lessons this specific obstacle might contain. Perhaps it is teaching you a deeper form of patience than you have ever known. Maybe it is encouraging you to discover a creative solution you would have never otherwise considered. Or it could be revealing a hidden strength in your character, a resilience you did not realize you possessed. By actively searching for the training embedded within the difficulty, you are no longer its victim, you are its student, and every challenge becomes a stepping stone on your path. For a Stoic, crafting purpose was not a solo project. It was about discovering the part they were designed to play in the symphony of the universe. This is the profound principle of living in accordance with nature, where your personal meaning is woven into the fabric of a rational and interconnected cosmos. The Stoics observed that just as a vine's nature is to bear grapes and a bee's nature is to make honey, our own specific nature as human beings is to exercise reason. To live according to nature, then, means using your unique capacity for rational thought to consciously contribute to the well-being of the whole. Your purpose is not invented from nothing. It is recognized and fulfilled by aligning your individual reason with the grand, rational order of universal nature. Epictetus, in his discourses, framed this with elegant clarity, reminding his students, "You are a citizen of the world and a part of it, not a servant but a vital piece. Do not be unaware of your role, but play your assigned part well." This transforms every responsibility, no matter how small, into a matter of cosmic significance. You are an essential voice in a universal chorus, and your task is to sing your line with clarity and intention. Consider your own profession, whatever it may be. The question shifts from "what do I get from this job?" to "how does this role allow me to use my reason to benefit the whole?" A teacher is not just imparting information, they are cultivating the rational minds of the next generation. A nurse is not just completing tasks, they are applying skilled reason to support the health and comfort of their community. Even in your relationships, you can ask how your presence as a partner, a friend, or a parent allows you to exercise patience, offer wise counsel, or act with fairness, thereby strengthening the social fabric you are a part of. Your purpose is found right there, in the intersection of your unique abilities and the needs of the world around you. So, take a quiet moment to reflect on your own unique mix of talents and your current circumstances. What specific gifts do you possess, and what particular needs exist within your family, your workplace, or your local community? How might these elements be quietly defining the exact role you are meant to play in this grand, unfolding story? After all the practices and principles, the Stoics concluded that your purpose is the kingdom of your own will, and you are its sole and absolute monarch. Every technique we have explored, from questioning your first impressions to embracing your path, serves this single and ultimate aim: the mastery of your inner faculty of choice. This is your proherses, the one thing that can never be taken from you without your own consent. It is the final and unassailable ground of your freedom. The Stoic teacher Epictetus, who understood the reality of having very little external freedom, stated this with unshakable conviction. He taught that no one is master of another's governing principle. And he reminded us that what is upsetting is not the person who challenges you, but the judgment that such a person is upsetting. Therefore, when someone irritates you, know that it is your own opinion which has irritated you. Your will is a fortress that cannot be breached from the outside, its gates only open from within. This is the essence of your inner citadel, a sovereignty built on choice itself. Consider the powerful example of an individual in a place of confinement, a circumstance of extreme external limitation. While their body is held, their inner kingdom remains entirely their own. They can choose to fill their hours with frustration, allowing their mind to become a prison of its own making. Or they can choose to use that same time for reflection, for planning a future, for finding moments of quiet gratitude, or for offering kindness to another. Their virtue, their purpose, their very character remains a matter of their own royal decree. This is not just a metaphor for enduring difficulty, but a literal truth about the architecture of human freedom. Your circumstances do not define the quality of your inner rule. So, as we near the end of our exploration, turn this ultimate truth inward with one final and fundamental question. In what area of your life are you currently surrendering your sovereignty? And what is one choice you can make today to reclaim it? Is it in a relationship where you have handed over your peace of mind to another's moods? Is it in a career where you blame the environment for your own lack of initiative? Or is it in a private habit where you tell yourself you have no control? Your one reclaiming choice might be as simple as deciding your attitude before a difficult meeting, or choosing to spend the next hour on a personally meaningful task instead of reacting to distractions. That single and conscious act is you, the monarch, taking back the throne. A single thread is weak, but woven together, they create a tapestry that can withstand any storm. So it is with the Stoic arts of self-examination. Each practice we have explored is not a separate tool, but a vital strand that gains its true strength from its connection to all the others. Your nightly journaling clarifies the desires you need to discipline. The perspective of the view from above provides the serene context that makes loving your fate possible. And the quiet remembrance of life's finite nature infuses your daily virtuous actions with a profound and present urgency. This is the harmonious system the Stoics built, where every part supports the whole. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this unity, writing, "All things are intertwined with one another. A sacred bond exists between them, and scarcely one thing is foreign to another. They are all coordinated together and jointly contribute to the order of the same universe. Your purpose is that same kind of order, a personal universe of meaning built from these interconnected habits." Imagine a day that begins with a significant professional disappointment, a project you invested in deeply that is now being cancelled. The first impression is a wave of frustration, a feeling of effort that did not lead to the intended result. But you have been practicing. You pause and exercise cognitive distancing, watching that initial thought of setback as a leaf on the river rather than jumping in after it. This creates the space to apply the dichotomy of control. You draw your two mental columns, placing the final decision of the company in the column of things not up to you, and your own diligent work, your adaptable skills, and your attitude in the column that is yours to command. Later, as you feel the pull of desire for that lost outcome, you engage the discipline of desire, consciously shifting your want from the specific project's success to the virtue of resilience you can now cultivate. In the evening, you sit with your journal. You examine the day not as a failure but as training. You see how the obstacle of the cancelled project became the way for you to practice courage and adaptability. And as you write, the quiet reminder on your desk lends a thoughtful weight to your reflections, ensuring your written insights are not just theoretical, but charged with the intention to use your time well tomorrow. This is how the tapestry holds. One practice supports the next, creating a resilient fabric of purpose that no single setback can tear. As you reflect on your own path, which two of these Stoic arts feel most naturally connected for you? Does the practice of examining your first impressions seamlessly lead you into a nightly review of your journal? Or does the view from above gently open your heart to a deeper love for your own unique fate? Consider how you might intentionally weave these two strands together over the next week, allowing one to reinforce the other, and noticing how their combined strength begins to shape a more integrated and unshakable sense of direction in your life. In a world of constant noise, the Stoics knew that the most important conversations, the ones with yourself, require a sacred space of silence. This is not about isolation or loneliness, but a deliberate retreat into your own mind to untangle the threads of thought, to hear the quiet voice of your inner guide, and to reinforce your commitment to virtue away from the pull of social expectations and endless distraction. Seneca, in his writing on tranquility of mind, advised that we must periodically withdraw into ourselves. He noted that the mind must be given relaxation, for it will rise better and keener after a rest. This was a prescription for mental clarity, a way to return to the world with a stronger, clearer sense of your own path. Think of solitude as the quiet workshop where all the other Stoic tools are sharpened, the still water that must settle before you can see your own reflection clearly. A practical doorway into this practice is simpler than you might think. It could be a morning walk taken without a phone or podcast, where the only sounds are your footsteps and the waking world. In that space, without an agenda, your mind is free to wander, to process, to simply be. There is no goal of achieving a profound insight, only the intention to be present with your own inner landscape. The challenge, then, is to schedule just 10 minutes of uninterrupted solitude within the next 2 days. Find a quiet corner, sit in your parked car, or simply step into your backyard. Let there be no book, no screen, no task. For those 10 minutes, your only job is to be present with the flow of your own thoughts, observing them without judgment, and returning to the quiet when you get pulled away. This small act of reclamation is how you begin to build the inner quiet necessary for all the reflection that follows. What happens to your purpose when you finally get what you want? The Stoics were just as thoughtful about success as they were about setbacks. They understood that acclaim and achievement carry a unique kind of test, the quiet challenge of pride. A victory can shift your self-perception, enlarging the sense of self and gently pulling you away from the steady pursuit of what is good. The practice, then, is to receive good fortune with the same calm awareness as difficulty, seeing both as passing events that do not define your inner worth. Seneca offered wise guidance about this very situation. He wrote that fortune changes, of course, but its deeper test lies in how it can sway the mind. He advised, let us set our minds in order so that whatever happens, it will find us prepared and steady. This is not about dismissing your accomplishments, but about seeing them with clear eyes, understanding the part played by circumstance and the support of others in your path. Consider the moment you receive a significant promotion. The initial feeling is one of validation and personal fulfillment. The untrained mind might see this success as entirely its own making. But the Stoic response is to pause and engage in a quiet, honest reflection. You acknowledge your own dedication, yes, but you also consciously recognize the elements of chance involved. The colleague who supported you during a difficult time, the wider shift that created the opening, the guide who offered timely perspective. By seeing the outcome as connected to these outside factors, you guard against the inflation of self. You receive the new role not as a prize you have earned, but as a broader place from which to practice the qualities of fairness, wisdom, and leadership. This balanced view keeps your purpose anchored in contribution, not in self-regard. So, take a moment to reflect on a past success in your own life. Did that achievement make you more patient and grounded, or more expectant and scattered? With the clarity of looking back, what one thing might you have done differently to ensure that success deepened your character instead of testing it? This reflection prepares you for the next time fortune turns your way, ensuring you greet it not as a reward, but as another chance for mindful growth. Holding a grudge from a Stoic point of view is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to be affected. Forgiveness is the antidote you give to yourself. This is not about excusing a wrong or saying an injury did not occur. It is a deep act of rational self-care, a conscious choice to loosen the inner ties of bitterness that can hold your mind captive. When you choose not to forgive, you are the one who keeps carrying the weight of what happened. letting it consume your mental focus and obscure your attention from what is truly important. The Stoic approach to forgiveness starts by shifting how you see the event. Marcus Aurelius offered a powerful way to do this, reminding himself that people do not choose to do wrong because they believe it is wrong, but because in that moment it seems like a benefit to them. They act from a kind of misunderstanding, a mistaken view of what is truly valuable. When someone acts unfairly, he noted, it is often because they are confused about what is good. This is not to justify hurtful actions, but to grasp their origin, which allows you to regard the person with a sense of patience instead of heated anger. This change in perspective is what lets go of the corrosive feeling of resentment and frees your inner self from a long-standing conflict. I remember a time when a colleague made a choice that felt like a deep personal letdown, a move that weakened many months of shared effort. For a long while, the story of that choice replayed constantly in my thoughts, a source of low-grade irritation that affected my whole attitude. The shift happened when I used this Stoic viewpoint. I asked myself not if the action was correct or incorrect, but what limited view of benefit my colleague might have been following, maybe a temporary advantage that seemed more important than the wider goal. The moment I adjusted my view in this manner, the emotional weight around the memory simply faded. The feeling was not one of winning, but of a calm, significant lightness, as if a heavy load I did not realize I was carrying had been lifted. My mental focus, once tied up by that inner story, was suddenly free again for creative tasks and present-moment attention. Now, bring to mind one person you have not completely forgiven, not for their benefit but for your own. Identify one specific judgment you are holding about them. Then, write down one reasonable explanation from this Stoic outlook for letting it go. Perhaps you can see that they, like everyone, were acting from their own incomplete understanding, doing what they thought was needed at the time. This act of writing is not an endorsement of their actions, but a deliberate choice to stop drinking the poison, to take back your own mental peace and turn that valuable energy back toward your own meaningful life. Your purpose, then, is not a distant destination you finally reach, but a path you walk with every conscious choice. This Stoic journey we have shared is the active craft of building a meaningful life, brick by rational brick, through the steady work of self-examination. You have explored the core of your inner citadel, that quiet space of reason within. You have learned to sort your concerns with the simple, powerful question of the dichotomy of control, focusing your energy only on what is truly yours to guide. You have seen how a nightly journal can turn your days into a map of personal growth, and how aligning your actions with the 4 cardinal virtues turns ordinary moments into a life of character. You have practiced shifting your perspective with the view from above and embraced the creative power of loving your fate, seeing every obstacle as essential material for your development. This is not a quick fix, but a lifelong practice, a continuous return to these tools that shape your inner world. The freedom it offers is beautifully captured by Epictetus, who reminds us he is free who lives as he wishes, who cannot be compelled, hindered, or constrained, whose impulses are not blocked, whose desires always succeed, and who never falls into what he would avoid. This freedom is found in caring only for what is within your own power, your judgments, and your actions. So now, the final, most important step is yours. Look back over these practices and choose just one to commit to for the next 7 days. Will it be the evening examination of your journal, or the daily pause to ask what is truly up to you? Perhaps it is the conscious effort to find the gift hidden within a single challenge. Whatever you choose, let that be your starting point. We would be honored to hear about your commitment. Share which practice you have chosen in the comments below. And if this guide has been helpful, subscribe for more journeys into living with purpose. Your path of intentional living begins now with one simple, deliberate step.